We have a great episode for you today. As later in this episode, we have on transfer wide receiver Devin Ellison. This guy is an absolute stud. We're going to get into a bit of his story, how he ended up transferring over to Washington State. So stay tuned for that. Today's sponsor for the podcast is Black Label Supplements. Make sure to check out blacklabelsupplements.com. Use discount code CouchGM for 15% off your order. And if you're thinking of buying, selling, or refinancing at any point in 2025 in the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho, or Arizona, reach out to myself, Connor Webb. I'll have a link in the description of this video to fill out a form to get in touch. I can assist you with your mortgage financing needs. And if you're looking for solar to add to your house to help reduce those energy costs, Dylan Howe is your guy. You could also reach out or just comment below to get in touch. So to start off, there's some news to get into. There's been a few more flips that have gone from South Dakota State since Jimmy Rogers and his staff have moved on to Washington State. They've been able to flip 12 high school commits going from South Dakota State to Washington State's class. And today, the most recent one is linebacker Sullivan Schlimgen. I'm sorry for butchering your last name. Jimmy Rogers had gotten him to commit to South Dakota State over a Texas Tech offer already, and now he has come over to Washington State. He's got some absolutely ridiculous stats. In his 3 years in high school, he racked up 247 tackles as a linebacker, and he rushed for more than 2,500 offensive yards with 29 touchdowns on the offensive side. We'll see if we can get a little Travis Hunter action going with this guy. Dylan, who are some of the other commits?
Yeah, one other big time commit was Aramis Wright, DB. He had offers from Michigan State, Ole Miss, South Dakota State, and then some other MAC schools. That was a big time ad, as well as Sullivan. And like we said, Coach Rogers and WSU beat out Texas Tech for the linebacker Sullivan, and we're just going to give him the NIL deal here with Slim Jim. It's probably way off, but hey, we'll go from there. But now you're also kind of seeing an aspect pop up of probably Robbie Rouse's old recruiting grounds in 2022. Remember, Robbie Rouse was a running backs coach at Cal Poly, handled all of their Southern California recruiting bed in terms of their high school camps. And you're possibly seeing two recruits from the Robbie Rouse days, a cornerback, Kai Rapola. He's out of Temecula, so that makes a lot of sense there. And then you have a defensive lineman, Sony Finau, coming in from Cal Poly. So those are two quick, kind of maybe under the radar transfers. We'll see how those end up. And then you obviously, we've already touched on Ademola Falaye, the tight end coming in from Michigan State. And then also a linebacker who started his career at Washington State, then transferred to Utah State, Gavin Barthiel. So you add that to a Tucker Large, Coug fan, we've already stated that we expect to see a big time swing forward in terms of the safety position and safety play going into next year with Trey Ridley, Tucker Large, and Cale Reeder coming in. Three transfers from South Dakota State have been in the system, played in the system. So you're starting to see the winter and the start of the new year here with this class starting to kind of round into form with what Coach Rogers and this staff have in terms of recruiting their high school talent, their own previous roster. And then on top of, keeping the guys like David Cuckoo in the state of Washington, keeping the Luke Webbs of the world in this recruiting class as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how the next portal cycle works, because you're going to get through spring ball and you're going to figure out where your holes are and what you're going to really need to attack portal wise going into, prepping up your roster and finishing up your roster going into fall camp. So some good signees, some good high school talent coming in. For everybody that keeps saying, well, gosh, we keep just getting these Midwest guys, we keep getting these South Dakota State recruits. Well, it's really kind of what they have available to them at the moment. A lot of these guys that have entered the portal in December have found homes. So that's kind of what you get when you're picking up your staff in late December and trying to roll into the off season.
And you mentioned Tucker Large. There's also Caleb Francel, some other big names. There's been 15 players so far that were playing at South Dakota this past year that have now flipped to Washington State and bring in all new coaching staff. They're bringing all of their players, so they already know the system. And like we had in discussion with Devin, that you'll see later on in this episode, he already described that the players that played at South Dakota, they already know the system and what to expect in practice. And so the guys that are just now coming to WSU that don't have the South Dakota experience, they're able to just kind of go behind these guys and watch what they're doing and watch the schemes and get to help with that learning curve. And also that's a huge difference in, looking at Washington State's defense the past few years and then comparing it to what we're going to be seeing next year. We've talked about it a bit, and there's a great article on CougFan.com. Go check it out that Jamie Vinnick just put up yesterday. It's on how WSU looks to shift to a 4-3 defense under Jimmy Rogers, and how essentially Jake Dickert was running a 4-2-5 defense in the prior couple of years and a Tampa 2 defense that was made popular by the Legion of Boom, but they didn't have the right players and the right personnel to actually make it completely successful. So that's why you saw things not go all according to plan. However, as Jamie points out, the base defense is a 4-3, which means 4 linemen, 3 linebackers. And that's something that has not been frequently employed at Washington State since the days of Bill Doba. And he states that this is not the average 4-3 either. There are blitzes, there's varying coverage packages, and other unique designs and tweaks to confuse offenses in the game between South Dakota State and North Dakota State last year, where the Jackrabbits stay in their 4-3 for most of the drive. But the moment that North Dakota State gets into 3 and 10, they drop to a 4-2-5, which is 4 linemen, 2 linebackers, and then you got your 2 corners, 2 safeties, and then there's a rover, so they get more athletic. And looking at the personnel of the guys that are coming over, there's a lot of guys that are linebackers that they just look like athletes. They don't look like these, massive guys. They look like they can run. They're agile. They're able to move. So this is going to be a much more agile style of defense.
Yeah, and it's certainly something that was missing last year, where you could definitely tell our linebackers were too slow in some spots. The secondary, we're not even going to get into. Okay, it was just awful. Like there's just no ifs, ands, and buts about it. So, Coach Rogers, I think legitimately we're going to see a much better defense in year one with Coach Rogers than where the ceiling of last year's defense could possibly even be. Going into the new Pac-12, like we said, this is a almost a throw it away year from the standpoint of, hey, the goal should be 6 games, win the bowl game, and beat the Dogs. If we can get that done this year, I think every Coug would raise their hand and take that.
Also in that article from Jamie Vinnick, he describes how in that same North Dakota State game that I was describing, he states that on the next drive when North Dakota was 4th and 1, they still had 4 down linemen, but every single defensive player is on the screen. The linebackers are only a yard or 2 behind the defensive line, and the safeties are only slightly behind them. The cornerbacks are playing press coverage, not giving a massive cushion. And like we didn't really see with the Jake Dickert defense, they weren't able to stop those short passes. And so with that being said, a ton to be excited about with moving forward. We'll continue to keep you updated on everything football as we learn more. Dylan, what are the updates with the basketball team?
Yeah, WSU, a good week last week. Obviously, a little bit of a scare in San Diego. Came back at the end, got the job done thanks to Nate Calmise and his 27 points, 22 in the second half. He had 2 different microwave sessions where he had 7 points or more in a 90-second span. It was very fun to watch. I was unable to catch the Saturday game. I was too busy playing baseball. Unfortunately, Connor couldn't make it down for our tournament this past weekend, but they won 92-70 against Portland at home. And, Nate Calmise in that post-game presser at San Diego said, we just need an emphatic win on Saturday. They got that done. And now you're rolling into a home and away, or an away and a home, Thursday and Saturday. And let me just be the first to say this. I have absolutely loved the West Coast Conference Thursday, Saturday schedule. It has been fantastic this year. There's been a great group of teams, the top 6 of Santa Clara, San Francisco, Gonzaga, Oregon State, WSU, and St. Mary's. Well, we're getting Santa Clara on the road Thursday, 5 o'clock, CBS Sports Network. Saturday, also against St. Mary's at home. And my apologies, 8 p.m. on Thursday night against Santa Clara, 5 p.m. Saturday night at home at Beasley. And really, when we take a look at the standings here, the 2 seed is still up for grabs. You have St. Mary's, it's kind of running away with things right now, 6-0 in conference. You have San Francisco at second place at 6-2, and then you have a 3-team tie at third place at 3 teams at 5-2. Washington State, Gonzaga, and Santa Clara. So this is a big time week. With this being said, they absolutely have to split this. If you go 0-2, those tourney hopes, they're about done. They're slim right now. So you're going to be playing against a Santa Clara team that's on fire right now. They beat Gonzaga at home. They have a very good wing player in Adama Alpha Ball, who's averaging 14 points per game. He's fantastic. He's 6'7", plays guard. So it's gonna be interesting to see Lawan Watts most likely kind of get the matchup on that one. And then you have St. Mary's at home. And this is going to be, the call to the Cougs. Every Coug that's here watching, if you're living in the Tri-Cities, if you're living in Spokane or you're in Pullman, I don't understand how you're not at that game on Saturday night. So it's going to be a big one for the Cougs. The other aspect, too, is Coug fan also reported today that there could be a good piece of injury news that might be finally on the way for a depleted team that's been playing with 8-man. It's Isaiah Watts. We don't know what his usage will be like, if he's even able to make the Thursday night game, if it's just, hey, can he get back for Saturday? Regardless, if he can be a decoy, if he can be on the bench stressed out, if you give another player in this rotation to move it from 8 to 9, that does a lot because we've seen the usage of Case Why Not, NDO before, Parker Garrett's climb. You can't say more than what Tomas Thrasterson has been able to do this year, the freshman from Iceland. So it's going to be a big-time week for the Cougs. Both games are going to be on CBS Sports Network. We'll be back at it with post-game spaces on my side of things on the Twitter side this week. So really looking forward to it. 15-5, like we said, the way this West Coast Conference tournament works, you finish first or second in the regular season, you only need to win 2 games to make the automatic NCAA tournament berth. So the big thing, hey, finish top 2, but more importantly, too, do not finish outside of the top 4 because 3rd and 4th place, it's only 3 games, and you get out of that. Now you're playing, 4 or 5 games to try and get an automatic berth. But it's going to be interesting to see if Isaiah Watts is able to return this week.
And looking at the standings as of right now, it's St. Mary's in first, San Francisco second, Washington State is third, Gonzaga fourth. And if I looked at that the scores recently correctly, our friends Oregon State took out Gonzaga. What does that mean?
Oregon State's got a pretty good basketball team this year. Michael Rataj, Nate Kings, they've got an exciting team, and they muck it up. And what I mean by mucking it up, they make it look ugly. And that's their game plan under Wayne Tinkle. So that's going to be a tough game. We only play Oregon State once this year on the West Coast Conference schedule, which was a little weird. You bring in us as a 2-team pod, but we get them at Gill Coliseum. That has been a house of horrors over the years for the Cougs, and that will be a tier or a quad 1 opportunity. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this West Coast Conference race finishes out, and we're almost into February here, so starting to get towards the madness.
Make sure to stay locked in for all things football and basketball, Washington State. Otherwise, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get into that interview with Devin. All right, Devin, thank you for joining us on the podcast. First off, congratulations on accepting the offer to go to Washington State. Welcome to the Palouse and to Pullman. Let's just start right there. What's your experience been so far getting moved in over in Pullman and your time with the team?
It's been a great experience. I like the community. I love the coaching staff, my teammates. It's good to start meeting everybody, getting the feel for it. So I'm just glad to be here.
Walk me through those first, team practices. I know you just got up there. Have you had a practice with the team yet and some lifts?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I have to get cleared first. So I've just been kind of around watching the team work out and kind of just getting the feel for everything. So once I get clear, I'll be ready to go.
Have you at least been inside the new Taylor Sports Complex, the indoor facility? Have you taken a look at it? What are your thoughts?
It's amazing. These facilities are great. I feel like they did a great job with it. There's a lot of resources to become like the player that you want to become at this place. So I love it here.
Yeah, a couple of the teams, University of Central Florida, Boise State, kind of the two big time teams that came down to your final decision. And in that final decision, you obviously chose Washington State. Did you take visits? I think I saw you at Boise State. Did you also take a visit to Central Florida?
Yes, I did. I took Central Florida and Boise State. Took both.
So when you're take us through that process of being a transfer target and going through these different school visits and what it takes for you to make a decision that's best for you going forward.
I feel like for me, as I take that visit, I feel like going in, I have to know just the kind of like what the plan that they have for me. So how I kind of look at it is kind of just go over what type of things you see happening for me in the future and where you see me on the field, what position, you know what I mean? Like kind of setting things up for me. So I kind of dig deep into those things to see like what's the best fit for me. So I look at the offense, what type of schemes we're running, all that type of good stuff. So going through the process, it was a hard process, but I talked to God and I talked to my family and I did a lot of research on the programs, the coaches, the offense, like what backgrounds they come from. I look into all those things. So Washington State was the best fit for me.
Now we've had some turnover. There's been, a change at head coach and the rest of the coaching staff. Can you walk us through some of those, some of those conversations that you had with Rodgers, maybe the offensive coordinator, the wide receivers coach, on kind of how they plan to use you?
The conversations I had with Coach Rodgers and Coach Manage, the receiver coach, they kind of just went over the quick transition for them was just bringing the whole staff. So when I visited UCF, they kind of had a whole new staff and they didn't, they were coming from all over the place. So this was kind of the first place that I saw where they had a new coaching staff, but they all came from the same place. So I feel like that made me feel really comfortable. And it's kind of like nothing changed. You know what I mean? It's just a different logo. So I kind of like what they did at South Dakota State and the plans that they have to bring over here to succeed. And it was just a great conversation that I had with them. And Coach Manage, the receiver coach, he kind of just went over the plans that he had for me. And he needs a guy to come in now and produce for him. So that's the goal.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, losing a lot of production at wide receiver. We have a guy coming back in Josh Meredith, who's going to take more of like a senior leadership role with this group. Have you chatted with Josh and Zevi, some of the guys that are going to be your nucleus going into next season so far?
Yes, I chatted with Zevi more than I chatted with Josh so far. I met Zevi on the visit, and we kind of just talked about, he lost Kyle Williams, he lost his guy, so just coming in, he's just like, man, you come in here and you do what you're supposed to do. We got some good things on the floor for us to go get, so we got a plan and we talked about it, and I like the conversation I had with Zevi. He's a hardworking kid. He just wants to be on that field. As you saw in the bowl game, he got his first start at the bowl game, and he showed what he can do. And I did my research, and he's the guy. So I'm very comfortable with him. And with Josh, I just feel like he's a guy that's a returner, so he knows what he has to do, and he knows what's kind of going on. So he's comfortable. He's had some experience. So being next to him is going to be a good feeling and a good situation for me. So.
Was WSU on your peripherals at all when the Holiday Bowl was going on, or no?
They weren't, but I saw. I actually watched a little bit of that game, and kind of seeing the good things that happened for Kyle Williams breaking that record. Just was an eye opener for me. So he kind of came from the same background a little bit for me. So that kind of opened my eyes a little bit about Washington State.
Let's talk about your playing style a little bit. Looking at your stats in your 1 year junior college, 45 receptions, 837 yards, which is averaging 18.6 per catch. 16 touchdowns in just 10 games. And I saw one of your coaches tweet out stating that you were pulled at halftime in half of those games. And looking at your highlights, it's like you're just burning past guys, for deep touchdowns. Can you walk us through your playing style, maybe who you'd compare yourself to, who you look up to?
For me, my playing style is just strong and explosive. I feel like with me, I bring that aggression to the game as a receiver. Just having that speed and being able to do things after the catch is what is an eye opener for me, and that's something that I dwell on really big is doing something after the catch. So just the playing style that I will say that I play like. I kind of like to watch George Pickens in this kind of new era because man, just the way he plays is just like he's just a dog, and he goes and makes the toughest catches. Has that speed, has that size, that length. So GP is definitely a guy that I would say that I like watching and try to grab some things from his game. So,
any other guys that you can't stop watching tape wise, maybe college wise or in the league as well?
If we talking back in the day, I would say a lot of Megatron. I watch Megatron a lot. I watch Jerry Rice, Randy Moss. But in this new era, Jettis, those type of guys, Jamar Chase. So just that type of, category.
Are we going to see the flair that we see with JJ as well on the field?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You will. Trust me.
And I've seen you tweet out, you're tweeting stating that you're ready to lead the team to the college football playoffs. Like, get your popcorn ready. It's about to be a show. Tell us about that confidence that you have coming to Washington State and what you guys are putting together right now.
I'm just happy to be here, so we're kind of building this thing up brick by brick. There's a lot of guys from South Dakota State and a lot of new transfers. So I just feel like the biggest thing for us is to come together as a team. I feel like championship teams is teams that are really close together and are all on the same page. So I feel like if we do those small little things, there's no doubt in my mind that we will go far. So.
And can you confirm if you have 4 years of eligibility? There was a ruling about junior college, timing. Have they clarified with you like how many years of eligibility you still have?
I only have 2. With the whole rule thing,
2.
I'm not sure how that would work. But as of right now, I know I have 2.
Let's throw it back to your high school days when you were first getting recruited and kind of where you came from. You're from Canton, Georgia, 6'2", 195. How did you make that decision to go and play at Monterey Peninsula College?
For me, it was a decision that I made, starting off talking to God. God, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for God. That's number one. So just kind of talking to God, he kind of just, broke it down for me. Like I had to take a chance on myself, so just going through a lot through high school with a whole deal with grades and all that type of stuff. So I feel like JUCO was the route for me to kind of find myself again and to show my skill set and show people what I can really do. So going JUCO was the best route for me, and I took it full advantage of it. I cherished every moment, and I worked hard. I went in there with the mindset that this is a one and done. You know what I mean? This is all I got. So I got to go here and do what I got to do. I led that team to a championship, undefeated record. Broke records at the school. So it was just a blessing. JUCO really made me who I am right now. So.
Did you play any other sports in high school growing up, or anything else besides football that you played growing up?
I played basketball, ran a little track. I feel like basketball was probably the main other sport that I played. So, as a receiver, bringing that shake and that shift kind of comes from basketball as a receiver. So, I get that kind of from the game of basketball to bring it to football as well.
So how far into that stint with junior college did you start to realize like, hey, I'm performing really well. Like I need to go to the next level talent wise. And when did you see that as an opportunity?
It's just like with that, coming from where I come from, I just feel like all the work that I put in, there was no doubt in my mind that I could go to the next level and play at a very high level. I just feel like when you're so confident of what you put in, is what you will get. So it was no surprise in my mind when all the good things started happening for me at JUCO and receiving all the offers and all that type of stuff, because I know what I did to get it. So it was no surprise, and I knew I wanted to take it to the next level, and I knew that I could. So,
do you kind of taking it back to, we're still a year out from the Pac-12 becoming a conference, and obviously some still big time games on this schedule. You're going to play UW. You have an opportunity to go in near your neck of the woods. Obviously Mississippi. Hopefully you have some family showing up to the Ole Miss game. But is it nice to see, hey, that you've got a whole new staff, a whole new team that are just kind of starting to chisel the foundation of what this school can be going forward into kind of the new look future that Washington State sports has in front of them?
With that being said, I feel like this is a new era. I feel like this whole new thing is gonna be something really special. I can just feel it. I just know that this new staff and all the new things that we got going on over here is gonna bring a lot of success. So I just feel like with us, like how I said it before, it's just gonna take a lot of accountability between each other, holding each other responsible, and just building that bond with each other, because everybody's from transfers, coming from some guys from South Dakota State, JUCO guys. Like, you just got to come together as a team. And I feel like when we do that in this new era, the plans that Jimmy Rogers have is going to be great. It's going to be great. So,
obviously a mass influx of former South Dakota State players, transfers. Have some of these guys in the early parts, have you kind of noticed maybe some early leadership from the guys that, have been here with Coach Rogers and kind of know how he works day to day?
yes, I've seen a lot of leadership from guys that came from over that way. You can kind of tell that if they came from that way, because how everything goes, they kind of already on it. They kind of know what's going on, so they got a feel for everything. And with those type of guys, they do a great job with bringing guys under their wing to kind of make sure they're getting with the program fast and quick, and learning the new things that we got to learn quick as spring ball approaches. So I feel like those guys take great leadership.
And I don't know how much of the playbook they've gone through with you yet, but it's a very different scheme from the air raid that we've seen the past, 10, 15 years even. They're going to spread you out over the field. They're going to run motions. They're going to have different looks. So how much of the insight with the actual play style on the offensive side have they kind of relayed to you on what you might expect? And how do you think that would help your playing style?
Helping my playing style. If you go back and watch my film, I love one-on-ones. So I feel like I live for one-on-ones, and going over this system, it's like when they kind of broke it down for me, they set up a lot of one-on-ones. So I just feel like with this whole receiving core, we got a lot of opportunities to get touches and score the football, and that's the goal, is to put points on the board. So with this offense being an air raid offense, I just feel like we'll put a lot of points on the board. So I really enjoyed the offensive scheme that we have going on here at Washington State.
The last one for me, Devin, you mentioned spring ball. It's such a big positioning board for every, football program. What do you think the biggest thing for you guys as a group that you're hoping to get out of spring ball this year?
Oh, with spring ball, it's just something you got to go in with the mindset of just knowing you can mess up in spring ball. That's the time to mess up. If you're gonna go and mess up and you don't know what you're doing, that's the time to mess up, because come fall camp is when we're ready to go. Everybody should know what they're doing by then, and that's the time to really get focused and get ready to go. So I feel like spring ball is just a feel for everything. Everybody got to get a feel for what's going on, learning the offense, learning the concepts, whatever it may be, but do it all at 100%. So I just feel like with that, it's a learning period, and it's really a great period to show what you can bring to the team, but also I feel like making mistakes is for spring ball, so we can learn before fall camp. So that's kind of how I feel about spring ball.
Last one I got. You made your official visit to Pullman on January 6th. You ended up committing on the 10th. Can you walk us through what that was like? I imagine you flew into Spokane, took the hour-and-a-half drive down to Pullman. Who did you stay with? Who toured you around the campus, and your overall thoughts of WSU?
I went into WSU with a free mind. I didn't think anything of it. I just kind of went to just see what was going on. So as I got here, I met Coach Minich, the receiver coach. We kind of just been chatting it up before I took the visit. So he kind of took me under his wing and showed me around because he was kind of new to everything that was going on around here. So we were kind of both on the same page, but we had some great conversations about what plans he had for me and for the team. So talking to Jimmy Rogers was great. Meeting the whole staff, it just felt comfortable. It felt like family. So like I said, what I look for in a program is if they're going to tell me what plans they have for me and for the team. So that was big for me because they kind of broke everything down for me. They didn't leave any gray areas. Every question that I asked was answered. The community is great. The fans, the people that you meet, not just in the football area, but around the school. Like everybody looks out for each other around here. And I just feel like that plays a big part of what WSU is about. So.
Absolutely. It's a great time in Pullman. Again, congratulations on accepting and joining the WSU team, and we're looking forward to seeing you out there.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Congrats on a fantastic accomplishment. And, I know WSU's community and alums and fans are very excited for the upcoming season.
Thank you. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Connor. I appreciate you guys.